Hi guys, welcome to the channel. So I'm going to be refinishing uno dos chopping boards today. Did you like the Spanish there? I'm learning. Anyway, so first chopping board. This was a rough chopping board I did a while ago. This was my first camp chopping board. It was a quick chainsaw job and sand down. I thought it had a nice look to it. Added a little bit of cordage there. So starting to get a bit tatty. So I thought I'd refinish this. It gets dunked a lot in the. What does it get dunked a lot in, Andrew? I'm not sure what it gets dunked a lot in. It's dish liquid, isn't it? Yeah. So it's been dunked in dish liquid quite a lot when we're washing the pots, and it's still looking alright. So I'm going to refinish that. Second is just a cheap cutting board. It's been over the hobs, got burned, starting to split in a few areas. So it's not looking the best. You'd probably bin this and buy another cheap chopping block or chopping board. This was a cheap board. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think it needs a little bit of TLC. A bit of cleaning up. And retreating. Just the same as the other one. You might be thinking, why is it worth the effort? Well, it might not be worth the effort. It might not be worth the time. But I really enjoy this kind of thing. Bringing something like this back to life is what it's all about. Let's do this. So we've got two different kinds of chopping boards here. I've got this natural piece here that's got a live edge or wavy edge or rustic edge, whatever kind of edge you'd like to call that. We're not going to bother about that base. You can see the chainsaw marks left in it from when I cut it. It's this side I'm interested in at the moment. Sits fairly flat and steady, so I'm happy with that. It's not warped much. And this one is just a bog standard rectangle. As is most chopping boards, this was made up of a number of different pieces that are glued together. It's what makes them cheap. If you were to buy a... Oh, hang on a minute. I've got one I can show you. If you were to buy a solid butcher's block or a good quality chopping board that is made of one piece, hence this beautiful Rustic artisan board here. This is made of a single piece of ash. You can still see the edge of the tree here. At one point this would have been the side of the tree going in. You can see the grain, so you can see the rings towards the center of the tree. This one isn't a single piece, this is multiple pieces, hence you'll see the cracking down here. This is just where the wood starts to warp, water ingress, things like that. And it'll just slowly deteriorate the join. Still nice and strong, there's no warp in it, still nice and flat. A little bit of bend. Just want to check around that crack. Doesn't want to seem to open up anymore. So we've got small features on the side here, which are just little grooves. So if you were to pick the chopping board up off the counter, you can easily grab that. If you're anything like me and you'll be flicking a penny along the floor or along the table trying to pick it up, that's what it'd be like if you didn't have these little grooves at the side. It just helps you pick that chopping board up. So what I'm going to do first is, actually, I'm going to show you some of the tools that I'm going to be using. So let's just get these chopping boards out of the way. Obviously the main tool I will be using is a random orbital sander. Whee! Again, these have Velcro pads on the bottom. And you can change the grades on here. At the moment this is a 240, so this is a fine pad. So for this rough edge, because it's very uneven, any kind of random orbital sander or even just a, do you call them like a vibrating sander, pad sander? I don't know. Any other kind of hand sander. You could hand sand this. Yeah, you could hand sand this. Sure you can. But I can go one better. So I'm just going to take an angle grinder and I'm going to attach a sanding pad to it. That way it'll allow me to get some of the nice contours that these edges have got, keep the rustic look and feel to it, and get it done twice as fast. Finish my coffee and we'll get started. Random orbital sanding time. I'm going to go with a 120. Feeling smoother already. I think I'll go down to a 240 on that. So I'm going to set my router height at roughly 17 millimeters. That just sits proud of the chopping board. So fair way to go yet. There we go. Should do it. We're going to set my cut to probably about 3 millimeters. For a really coarse grit, 40 grit on here. Get some of these knife marks out. Run 40 grit over the other side. Okay, so I've gone down to 120 on both these boards. Had to use a 40 and a 60 on this board on both sides to get rid of some of the deeper knife marks. I'm going to go down to 240 on both of these now. So I'm going to give this a good coat of linseed oil. I prefer using linseed oil for the initial coating. It gives a bit more water resilience, so if you are that way inclined and you will put these chopping boards into hot soapy water, it just gives it a bit more of a protection, a bit more of a water resistance. So I'm going to put this to one side. I'm going to let that soak in. I'm going to coat the other chopping board and then I'll come back to this one and wipe off the excess. Both chopping boards finished and coated. Just need to wait for this coating to dry, then I'll give it a quick buff off tomorrow and should be ready to use and last another couple of years. Fluff.
I got some fluff on my chin. Is that fluff? Got it. So with some time and effort, you can restore an old chopping board that you'd probably throw in the log burner, throw in the bin, discard some other way, thinking it's ruined. You too can get another couple of years out of that old chopping board. So if you have an old chopping board that you were thinking of discarding, give it a go. Restore it. Only takes a couple of hours, a bit of sandpaper. Of course, if you didn't want to restore your chopping boards, or you just don't have a chopping board, it's like, who doesn't have a chopping board? Maybe people that don't have a kitchen or a house. Good point. Okay, so if you don't have a chopping board and you don't want to restore one because you don't have a chopping board, we've already been through that, haven't we? You already don't have a chopping board. Okay, so if you don't have a chopping board, or you do have a chopping board, right, let's start from the beginning. If you do have a chopping board and you don't want to take the time and effort, but you want to restore it, and you don't want to buy a new one, send it me.